Hello guys, good morning and welcome to your market report for this January 29th, a Tuesday. Now, here's the thing. I have another channel called Woodshop Monk, and I'm going to be changing the name of it, and this is where I'm going to be running my new show over at the other channel. So I'm going to put the link in the description. Now, later this afternoon, I'm going to be downloading a new video on there where I talk about how I got my first job. It's quite an interesting story, and I go into a lot of detail about it. And you guys might want to go over there and support my channel over there. I'd really appreciate it. And anyway, I'll put a link in the description. And it's all about how I got my first job back when I was only just turning 15. I was just past 14 years old down in Florida, working down in Orlando. And it's interesting. So anyway, go over there and sub to the channel and help me out. I'd really appreciate that, And if you like my story, there's going to be a lot more interesting stuff over there, Let's just put it that way. As I really get started, when I get home, I'm really going to get started on this project. I'm going to film the whole thing of building this truck camper, and it's going to be on that channel over there. And I really want to build that channel. I got to think of a good name. So, I'm going to be looking at you guys' names that you come up with in the description for my new show, my road show. If you guys, and if I see one I like, I'm going to use it, for it. I'm going to change the name from Woodshop Monk, which I don't think is a very good name. I mean, back when I had a woodshop channel, that's what I used to do as a hobby before my back went bad. Woodshop Monk was okay, but now this is not a woodshop channel anymore. This is an on the road again channel, and sort of thing. Anyway, let me get started with the market report. Enough talk. So let's get started, and let's open up the charts right here, and let's get this going. Let's take a look. We'll get right into the silver price today. We're looking at the silver was going up this morning, but now she's dropping off a little bit. $15.79 right now. She's still up 7 cents on the day, though, which is not too bad, not too shabby. It's a green line here, but she's falling right now, so that's not good. Let's take a look at the gold price. Live gold price, $13.06. We've cracked the $13, and we're kind of holding up above there. I almost tend to think gold and silver are getting ready to go back into a bull market, especially if the Fed does anything at all from what they've said, like not raising interest rates, or if they start to taper back on their tapering policy, their quantitative tightening. If they start to back off the pedal on that a little bit, we're going to see gold and silver go into a bull market. Now, it all depends on what the Fed does, so we got to keep our eye on what the Fed's doing with this. Further Fed announcements are going to really lead us to know if the gold and silver market's going to start to take off again. And if the gold and silver markets start to take off, energy will start to come in. As the price starts to go up, people start to want it more. It's human psychology. They don't want it as long as the price is cheap. Same way with cryptocurrencies. But once the price starts to rise and it starts to come into a bull market, then everybody wants it. They want it as the price is going higher, as the price is high. They don't want something that's cheap. So let's take a look at cryptocurrency and see what it's doing today. What we see here with cryptocurrency is we see it 34.02. It put in a few really low bottoms there just recently. At 33.22 was a bottom. But now she looks like she's creeping up. Ever since she made that bottom at 33.22, it looks like it's starting to creep up a little bit again. It's 34.02. Take a look at cryptocurrency market capitalizations for today. And we're looking at Bitcoin at 113 billion. Now, she was 120 billion a week or two ago, but so it's dropped a little bit. Bitcoin dominance of 53.4%. Let's pull it down and take a look at a few of these coins. You can see they're turning upwards today. They were in a downward slump, but they're turning upwards a little bit today, and we're getting some numbers in the green. EOS is up 1.52%. Litecoin, just about 1%. $31.28 for Litecoin. That's one of my favorite coins, by the way. Now let's take a look at the Dow Jones today. She's up 114 points on the day. Well, 117 now. I just refreshed the chart. And we see ever since it put this bottom in at 21,792, back on the December 24th, the plunge protection team, the president said the plunge protection team's coming into action, and ever since he said that, we're seeing it moving upwards. The market is trending upwards. We're going to have to wait and see how high it goes on this rally, but it's rallying, and it's rallying a lot on the news from the Fed. They believe there's not going to be any more interest rate hikes, or the quantitative tightening program is going to start to be trimmed back, and so it's rallying on these facts. Now let's take a look at the oil price. It's up $1.08 today. That's a big jump, 2.08%. It's a big jump for oil today, a one-day jump, and it seems like the bottoms have been put in there for oil around $43.93. It's quite a little bit lower. It's full $10 lower per barrel, you know. Now let's take a look at bonds and rates today. We're looking at all of the mid-range of the bonds dropping today, the yields. They're dropping about 1 basis point all through the mid-range of the yields. The high end of the curve, though, is rising. It's rising about 0.5 basis point, a little bit more than 0.5 basis point. They've jumped a little bit more even on the high end, the 30-year. Now let's check the U.S. dollar index and see what it's doing today. 95.8. And we see it spiking upwards right now, right this minute. And this is the reason why. If we go back to the gold price right now, take a look, and we see it spiking downwards. We see it spiking downwards because the dollar's spiking up. They have an inverse relationship, the gold and the dollar. They generally tend to move in opposite directions. So if gold's going down, the dollar goes up. Dollar goes down, gold goes up. And so that's what we see happening today in the markets. It's I'll tell you, we're really deep into this process now, the Fed draining liquidity out of the system. And I think they're going to try to protect that. They want to continue taking $50 billion a month of liquidity out of the system, draining it from the system. But basically what it's doing is, it's like, have you ever seen ice in the wintertime? If water drains out of a pond and it'll leave the layer of ice on the surface? That's what our economy is like. They're draining the liquidity out. But what's happened is the markets are staying buoyed, but the liquidity is being drained out from underneath them. And so if we get a fall, we could get a precipitous fall if the Fed continues to drain that liquidity. In my mind, that's probably more important than them raising interest rates, as far as, and they're protecting that. I'm going to see how far the Fed will go in protecting that liquidity drainage that they're doing with quantitative tightening. It's the economy is actually in a precarious position because we're moving into a slowdown in the general world economy, especially in China. China right now is claiming to have 6.6% GDP growth year over year. Okay? So take 4 of those 6.6%, put them together, and you get 25% larger economy, GDP. Do you, as anybody out there, it's got a rational mind, believe that China in the next 4 years is going to be 25% larger economy than they are now? Their economy is shrinking. So why does GDP growth say 6.6%? I think it's actually probably should be negative growth. It's quite seriously, because their economy is shrinking, their factory production is shrinking. They're only holding things together right now by throwing in an extreme amount of liquidity in the form of stimulus packages. Billions and billions of yuan they're throwing into their economy. This is the only thing that's supporting their economy at this point. And so China's undergoing a huge slowdown, and when you realize that that's the second largest economy on earth, well, you know, I mean, nothing more to say about that. So listen, thank you guys for listening to this market report, and we'll catch you in the very next show coming up very soon. Bye-bye, guys.